a little bit further, we've got Jason and Crepo standing by to do just that.
We had coming into this. We want to talk a little bit more about Game 3, but before we do that, let's talk about the first two games really quickly, just to refresh your memory if you weren't watching those first two games.
Yeah, actually, both Siege come supreme in both the first game. NIP took the first one. Not enough respect for this in the second game, where actually TCM picked up some Siege components. Nidalee being key there. And then moving into the third game, we saw a little different approach, and we actually saw Shyvana get through the pick and ban phase, and she was very instrumental. I was talking to Deficio, or we were talking to Deficio rather backstage, so not to steal his analysis for my own. And he basically correctly pointed out that, in fact, yeah, Kha'Zix couldn't lane against Shyvana, was forced to go mid. He ended up laning against the Gragas, couldn't really gank the Gragas all too well. And the Luchador, as like we were talking about that earlier as well, he thrives on getting kills together with JWoww, and he couldn't get any kills in mid because Gragas is too mobile. The Luchador falls behind. The mid game pressure from TCM doesn't get rolling, and JWoww doesn't get snowballing. And then a good controlled game by NIP. Obviously a little more comfortable with Gragas than with Sion, and just very clean cut execution.
Now, I don't want to keep the focus too much on NIP, but what do you think of their new roster? I mean, obviously they have a new top laner, a new mid laner, a new jungle, and a new support. How do you think they really worked?
I think they're very strong bot lane. I mean, I'm a support player, so I look at the bot lane first all the time. Mithy is a really good player. Freeze is a good player. If they can find their synergy, they're definitely a really strong duo. Nuketox's already proven what he can. So has Zora Zero, and then yeah, the Hiraki bot joining them. If he can get along socially with them well, which from what I've understood is he does, then it should be a really strong team.
And we talked earlier with Shox before this actual whole series started about the lineup of NIP. How do you think Hercubot and Nukeduck worked really well, or how they worked together? Because I was mentioning before that Nukeduck kind of usually got camped by his own jungler when he's back on Lemon Dogs, and that got him rolling. To me, though, it seemed like he was a little bit more by himself, like as in he didn't really need a jungler to help out too much.
It's very hard to judge that from these small sample size of games. I think Nukeduck's a versatile player enough to play with and without the jungler, and I think he's just strong enough to deal with it. He's just a really good player.
Okay. And what about TCM? We should talk about them a little bit. How do you feel they did? Because we've seen them before, obviously in Tenerife. We've seen them many more times than that back at DreamHack. How do you think they really fared as a team?
They show a lot of promise. Let's face it. I mean, JWoww is pretty impressive on the top lane. I've seen him champions like Elise and Kha'Zix, and he really draws attention to him. They need to fix some of their mid-game issues. They're calling. I did like their warding in between lanes from now and then, so they had a good grasp of what the vision game was required and how it had to be played. But all in all, yeah, they played well, but not well enough.
And we also talked with Shox a little bit earlier about, NIP. They get the first pick of the team that they want once we have the group stages done in early December of these challenger teams. Do you think this is maybe a team that NIP want to go up against again?
I'm not sure. I think definitely TCM can throw you a curveball, especially playing on the Pi patch 3.14. A lot is going to change. They look relatively organized, TCM. They still have some kinks in their gameplay and in their assessment of the middle late game, but if they fix that combined with the new patch, it might just put JWoww in a stronger position. Who knows? Like, the game is entirely going to change, so you can't really draw too many conclusions from this game. I think Copenhagen Wolves is a strong team right now. TCM, but they may have a pick of a third team that might essentially be weaker than both of those, and probably will end up picking that team.
All right, well, you're going to be casting a little bit later on today, actually the next game, I believe.
Next game.
I want to hear your thoughts, though, on that game. SK versus Copenhagen Wolves coming up before we fully get into that one.
New roster for SK Gaming, so let's see how they perform. The glorious comeback of Freddy. I've always seen Freddy come back and back and back. I used to play in a team with him like 2 years and a half ago by now, and then he ended up back in the LCS. So I'm really glad to see him back. He's a very good top laner on a certain amount of champions. If he gets Renekton, and I hope he does, we're gonna see some good performance by him. And yeah, I'm just waiting for Nif to pick a door and shield as he promised.
Well, thank you very much, Crepo, for joining us and giving us your amazing analysis of these 3 games. But for now, we actually do have an interview over with Shox, and she's with Mithy.
Mithy, very good to see you again, albeit now on a different team, on NIP. And I wanted to talk to you mostly about that game too, because it seemed like you won the laning phase and then kind of lost the reins in that game. So what happened there?
Mostly we won laning phase. We had a good pick to win laning phase 2. We had Sion. And then we just failed to snowball. We tried too much to bait them top, and they just eventually found out that we were just trying that all the time, and then they just outplayed us, I guess, in the mind games in a way.
Are you the person that makes those calls?
No.
And who is it then?
Well, that kind of calls is like Nukeduck is like I feel like counter ganking this, so I'm just gonna go there, you know. And then he got like counter gank or whatever it was, you know. But yeah, it just happened, and yeah.
All right, now for you, Annie seemed to be a very solid pick out of those 3 games. Tell me a little bit about your playstyle with her, because it seemed like you go in and even if you hit the perfect stun, you're still not a tank and you might melt quite easily. So how do you approach team fights?
Well, if you don't hit a good stun, then you die. That's because they can then like come back at you and focus you. But if you hit a good stun, you have like 1 second to run out, you know, and then your team can go back in and then they have someone else to focus, so you're pretty safe and can maybe get another stun off. So yeah.
And how does it work in synergy with maybe a Lucian? I know a certain rider that will be very happy to see Lucian getting some love here. How does that work for you guys in the bottom lane?
Well, Lucian is a quite strong pick, except for his ultimate. It's kind of iffy. But overall, his kit is quite strong. And Annie is just like a good champion, I guess. With the right playstyle, you just stun and like do a lot with it. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a good pick.
All right, now coming out of that game, you guys were not overcome with joy. Is there a lot to think about? Because you were the favorites in this matchup, and it didn't seem to go that well.
Well, I think we did pretty well game 1. Actually, we didn't do that well since we did mistakes, but I guess we weren't warm. And then the game 2, we tried out stuff, didn't work. Tried to just get over it as fast as possible, and then the game 3 was like what we expected. So we weren't like, I mean, I'm happy we won. I'm not sad we lost. I mean, of course, but I'm not like full of joy because I overall came with expectations to win.
Okay, that's good that you say that. The expectations to win, a lot of ambition there. A final question, you've moved into the gaming house now in Stockholm. How has that been, that transition with 2 of your old team members and then 2 new ones? How has that been?
I think we all mesh up pretty well. And yeah, I don't know, it's quite fun. There's a lot of space. They take good care of us. You know more the players you're playing with, you know, like how can they cooperate like in a house and stuff. But overall, it's turning out better than expected, way better.
All right, so you're in this one to win it. Do you want to play SK or the Copenhagen Wolves, and why?
I don't really care, and yeah, pretty much. I just want to like play and do my best, and if I do my best, I'll probably win. So I don't really care who I play against.
All right, strong words. Well, thank you very much, Mithy, and good luck tomorrow. As for us, we're going to go back to Paul.